Hey everybody, it's Jason McLaren with the Leadership Loading Podcast. Today we're talking to my guest, Daphne Wells. Daphne helps midlife women feel solid, safe, and secure in their magic, MAGICK, with the world and make more money in ease and flow. It says, as your purpose and spiritual confidence alchemist, Daphne delivers instantly powerful insights that give you radical permission to show up in your power and fulfill your purpose in the world. And we were kind of just talking a little bit about being strong people and moving forward. So we'll talk about some of that as we go on. But Daphne, I'll let you introduce yourself and we'll go from there.
Yeah, thank you for having me, Jason. So I help people really figure out what their purpose is, identify their purpose, and then go for it in terms of turning that into a business. Because when we do that, we can help more people than when we're not doing it as a business, when we're working a job and doing it on the side, because so many of us, innate skills, our gifts, we give them away for free for years without realizing. And when we turn that around and that becomes our role in life, we help more people.
Definitely. I think you don't know my story, but I was an Air Force firefighter and I got out and kind of had to figure out what I wanted to do in my life. And I tried the whole side hustle thing and went from making $60,000 a year to $15 an hour. And, it did take a lot of purpose and to figure out what I wanted to do. And so obviously education was a big part of it and growing myself personally. But I think that's kind of, getting out of that rut and moving forward helps you build your purpose and your confidence and going forward. And a lot of times you can only do that as a full-time, a person doing whatever you're doing, whether it's your business or your full-time employment, I think.
Yeah. Because when we split our focus, we tend to not achieve as much.
Yeah, because if you're not, it's like you said, if you're splitting your focus and you're not achieving what you need to do. So with that, do you think that you can multitask, as a leader or as someone that's trying to grow theirself either personally or professionally?
Multitasking, in my opinion, I have been very good at in the past. For years, I owned a hospitality business. And in hospitality, you are multitasking the whole time. Like you have to. And it was kind of put on us for a lot of years that the ability to multitask was actually an asset. What they have found with research is that when you laser focus on one task, you will actually achieve more in less time. And so there is some places where we do need to multitask. Most of the time, however, when we focus, we will achieve more.
Yeah, and I've come to that realization too, that in my earlier years in job interviews, they'd say, what's one of your strengths? And I'd say multitasking. And really I'm more of a linear task oriented person, but it's just that I go full force on things and I check them off faster than the normal person. And so that way it seems like multitasking, but I actually, I've learned to kind of put things in order in a rapid fire way to get forward. So, so that kind of how you think on your programs. I know on your website, you talk about reprogramming yourself from the way you've been programmed. And is that something you guys do in your coaching?
Yeah. So what I know to be true is that we are told by the world, we are conditioned through our upbringing. From birth through to 7, they have found through research that we're like sponges. We absorb everything and anything as true and take it on as being us. And so we actually change the character of who we are. And most of us hide our inborn skills and magical gifts, as I call them. And therefore we're not being ourselves. we're being who the world wants us to be. And so there comes this point in later on in life, for some it's a career change, it's in that midlife, which I view as being from 39 through to 65, and there's lots of cyclical energy cycles that change into like loop in that time in our lives personally that make us question, I've learned all this stuff, I've done all this stuff, what's next? And for some it can be, I'm done with the career I've been doing, what am I going to do now? Which for your audience, that's the case for a lot of them, isn't it, Jason, that they're looking at what's next.
Yeah, and it's just about getting out of that cycle and not spinning your wheels. I hate using myself as an example all the time, but I was an Air Force firefighter, and then I got out, and that's what I thought I was going to do, is be a firefighter. And it took me 5 years of trying to be a firefighter in the civilian world to realize that's not what, wasn't going to work for me. And it's just spinning my wheels for 5 years basically, and not getting anywhere. So I think that's how we have to look forward and build our own life and get out of the rut. And sometimes that takes coaching or services like what you offer over there at DaphneWells.com. So can you talk about some of that?
Yeah, so one really key ingredient for me and for my clients in figuring that out, what's next, is through numerology. So when we are born, we come into this world with a freedom. I call it your freedom code. So it is, I calculate it mathematically, scientifically, and then intuit the reading of that for what the person is looking for, for what's right for them. And that really helps you come back to yourself and really own who you are, who you were born as, that essence of you that has often been hidden, as I spoke of earlier. And it really helps you come home to who you are and figure out, well, this is me. I can now choose to show up as that. And that's a big piece of what I do. The other piece of what I do is another piece of what I do is out of that comes really identifying your purpose, why you're here in this life, what you are here to share with the world, and then how do you do that? And a lot of that too comes down to, you spoke of multitasking before, so and identifying what you do need to do and what your priorities are. And when you get all of those things aligned, there's not much can stop you from being you and sharing your magic with the world. And you spelt magic out. I spell magic with a K. The reason for that is we're not pulling rabbits out of sleeves. We're not, not that kind of magic trick. Magic is the spirit of the universe that is in you, and it is in you. It is in each of us, and that is our work in the world, is to share our magical gifts that are in our spirit, in our soul.
And you talked earlier about not giving away all your skills, and basically, which is your energy, right? Giving away everything that you've got, and a lot of people do that either unconsciously or consciously, either as a side hustle while they're doing their full-time job. And you see this on like Facebook or any of these social media. People will do stuff for people, and a lot of times they don't charge, and they're giving this away basically, and it's either due to low confidence or just they don't feel like it's a valuable asset. Once again, using myself as an example, and some of our people that we support, we have to tell them, no, this is an asset, that you've learned this skill or you've learned this resource. It's something that you need to start charging for, especially once you get out of the friends and family circle of doing whatever it is you do. It's time to start charging and actually build your own life and build your own business as you're moving forward.
Exactly. And because, most people, those are skills, the way we help people, we have been doing forever because it's born into us, right? We do it naturally. We don't appreciate the value of it because it comes so naturally to us. And yet other people, it's not natural too, and they really need it. And the thing is, if we're working a full-time job, which, let's be honest, we need to do to pay our way through life, right? We need an income. And so if we're doing a job to provide that, and we're giving away our gifts as on the side, as you said, a side hustle, we're not helping as many people as we can. When we turn that into a business and charge money for it, then we're helping more people. And then those people we help, because we've helped them, they can then help people with what they're here to help people with. And so those ripples that we start by helping that one person and having that energetic money exchange for it go further and further.
Yeah, definitely. And I've done the same thing. You know, I could go on, but we, and with our listeners, most of them are former military or veterans or firefighters and police officers. And firefighters, we're notorious for this. You know, on our days off, we like to have another job. So we're pretty good about monetizing that and taking that skill set, whether it be hanging Christmas lights or cutting down trees, or you see a lot of landscaping and Christmas light companies that are firefighter owned and moving companies, just because that's our natural skill set that we've learned as being a firefighter. And so when we're working one day off and 1 day on and 2 days off, it's very beneficial for us to do that. The other side is, you know, our police friends that do off-duty work, they get paid to work off-duty jobs, they call it, where they maybe do security or something for a client. They get a lot more money than they normally get as a police officer, but it's, you know, ebbs and flows depending on what kind of events are going on. So, you know, being able to leverage that and, you know, promote yourself is a lot better than trying to go through a third party, you know, contract service or something like that.
Yes, because then you get to be in control of when you work and when you don't work, and who you help and who you don't help, which is really important in that. Because for it to be sustainable, for whatever you do in life to be sustainable, in other words, so you're not draining yourself, you're not burning out, you're not stressing yourself, it needs to be aligned with you. It needs to be aligned with who you are and with your values and everything that's important to you. Otherwise, that's when we end up stressed and burned out and overwhelmed.
All right, Daphne, if you had a quick tip for our listeners, what would it be?
My one quick tip is trust yourself and be you. And the way you start to trust yourself is by keeping the promises you make to yourself. Think about it like a stack of stones. You build a stone stack. Each time you keep a promise to yourself, you're adding another stone to that stack and building your confidence and your trust in yourself. They go hand in hand.
Definitely. All right. And I mentioned earlier, our website is daphnewells.com, and you have a book out available on a few resources there.
Yes, there's resources and lots of things there. There's also, you know, if listeners are intrigued to know their birth code and who they are, there's a free gift at giftfromdaphne.com where you can identify your birth code.
Good deal. I'll put those links in the show notes for everybody.
Awesome. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Thanks, Daphne, for coming on the show.
There are thousands of leadership and management podcasts to choose from. We're glad you chose the Leadership Loading Podcast, a Go Heroes production. If you'd like to support Go Heroes Inc., visit www.goheroes.org. And with that, it's time to wrap up today's show. Thank you so much for listening. We sincerely hope you liked it. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and share this podcast with your family and friends. Let's all grow together. Thanks for listening to the Leadership Loading Podcast. Leadership inspired.